For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Lions.
We are TFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Kathryn Andries.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Welcome to Spirit's Journey. We are coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio, also simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Did you know that you can find us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, TalkStream Live, among others? We are here in the Heartland, holding the energy for spiritual truth and awareness. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Kathryn. Welcome, everyone. So today we have an old friend of ours, Damian Nordman. And I was just talking to him before the show started. It's been about 18 years since we've connected. And he's got some important messages for everybody today because he is a mindset coach. And anybody who has business issues, money issues, it all starts with the mind. So this is going to be a very valuable show. He's also an author and mentor to heroes. So if you are a superhero, listen up. He has invested 2 decades of his life in service to humanity while learning the inner secrets of success, life, and creation. He now offers his vast wisdom through coaching programs and courses. Damian is also the host of the Inner Secrets of Success podcast, and he's writing a book called You Are the Superhero. That is a great title, Damian. So welcome, Damian, who loves to help people live their purpose, passion, and power through discovering their unique superhero dharma.
What is up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, Damian. Good to hear from you again. I'm looking forward to this discussion today. So why don't you just go ahead and jump in? So what exactly is a mindset coach? I mean, there's probably a lot of people out there wondering, what exactly is that? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I help people to understand their mind and the mind, and really just how to have a good, powerful mindset about anything that you might be wanting to try to do, whether that's starting a business, whether that's in your friendships and relationships, whether that's in your health, really just any area of life. I mean, it starts with your point of focus. It starts with what you're filling your mind with in terms of the content, as well as I really extend mindset to things like emotions and vibration and just that whole picture, really.
And so, Damian, it is the basis of everything, the mind. But how come as a society, most people start from the outside and they're like, okay, well, if I'm not making enough money, I need to learn about money. Or, you know, if my business isn't well, I need to learn about marketing. And they forget that mindset that we have to work from the in to the out, right? So why is that?
Well, I mean, the simple answer is that we're taught that, right? We're taught both from a direct sort of standpoint of people saying it to us. You know, that's what we've seen. That's what we've modeled after. You know, I don't know about you guys, but my parents and the people I grew up around did not have a level of depth that I think I inherently had, or perhaps, you know, what if we want to talk about past lives or something like that. And also I learned more of that from other people who worked more from the inside out, which is kind of what you're saying. So yeah, I really think that it's not that it's kind of like there's different ways I've heard it said, but I've heard some people say it, you know, it's really not your fault for the way your life is until it is. You know, in other words, you know, it's like at first we start out usually not quite as aware of how we've created our life and our reality. And then as you go along, you've got experiences that teach you. And then, you know, if you find a mentor or some system or philosophy or school or just whatever that can awaken you, then, you know, you start to awaken to what's, you know, what's possible. And so I always recommend that people find a coach or some other form of schooling or program or something that can teach them the steps that can go deeper within themselves, because most of us were not taught that.
And I find, even though we know a lot of tools, sometimes it just helps to have somebody else show us, because if it's our blind spot, we can't do it for ourselves, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. My first business coach, James Malinchak, he was hilarious, and he's a really great guy. And one of the things he talked about was he shared this with Michael Jordan. And he remembers that Michael Jordan got up there, and everybody knows Michael Jordan, right? I mean, like, he's one of the most popular figures still. I mean, even years after his career is, ended. And he talked about the importance of coaches, and he said, basically that, no matter how good I become as a basketball player, I still need a coach, because there's just certain things I'm not going to be able to see about myself. And so exactly what you're saying is completely true, even if it's just to have somebody who can see outside of our own, periphery and what we can see. That's, it's just so accurate.
And I was curious, Damon, are there any kind of statistics about the people who become successful? How many of them worked with a coach versus those that became successful without a coach? Do you have any statistics or research on that?
I don't really have any statistics. I'm not even sure if I would trust them if I did. because I mean, there's a book called How to Lie with Statistics. So you know how the media is, and things like, even just like, the coronavirus. There's so much stuff that's out there every direction about that, and everything else in the world. So I guess I would say I have just, that my life is my best understanding. I've had teachers and coaches and mentors my entire adult life, and I've been a teacher, coach, and mentor for pretty much my entire adult life. And what I can say from just hundreds of people I've interacted with, both my own students and clients, as well as people who were friends of mine who I know had teachers or had a coach, they got better. All of these people got better. I've gotten better because I've allowed myself to continue to be taught. And not really any statistics, but definitely a lot of life, if you want to call it anecdotal, I guess, evidence, but just a lot of examples of that, and just seeing it time and again, the differences between when a person, is willing to allow themselves to be taught and guided versus, just trying to hack it out on your own. It's the difference between, it's kind of like I have a good friend named Dan McPherson, and he's got a cool podcast and does a lot of cool stuff, and he's a coach, and he basically says, you can, he's like, you can find all the information I could teach you. I mean, you could do it yourself, but I'll save you like 10 years or something like that. It's like, what might take you 10 years, you could learn in possibly a year. So that's what I would have to say about that, for sure.
Yeah, well, and that's awesome, because we know time is so valuable. We can't put a price on it. And so if we can get to our destination quicker, a coach is a huge benefit to that. So I'm curious, Damon, you call yourself a mentor to superheroes. Why?
Yeah, and kind of like you were saying at the beginning, if you are a superhero, it's really more if you want to become a superhero, I will teach you how to do that. And I use that largely because I believe every person is a superhero waiting to be born. And some people have, kind of come into that fullness of themselves, and that, that depth and breadth of who they are. But most people, I think, are sort of waiting to become that. And I even look at things like, like pretty much every holy scripture on the planet describes something like this. And kind of at the beginning of the Bible, it even says that we were created in the image and likeness of God, of our creator. And if you think about created in the image and likeness of a creator, means we have those creative abilities to create our universe, to create the world that we want to live in, that we want to exist in. And so I really kind of see that as a superhero, right? So it's like, whether you're talking about, some of the superheroes from our ancient past, like Jesus or Gautama the Buddha, or any Lao Tzu or Krishna or any of those kind of people, Kuan Yin, or if you're talking about people more in modern history, whether that's the Dalai Lama and Gandhi, if you want to look spiritually, or if you want to look at leaders, great leaders, political leaders, leaders of countries or businesses, or just amazing people, inventors and artists. And I mean, we've got, seems like more now than ever, people are rising up. And so that's what I help people to do, is to bring out their superpowers, their, to kind of understand their origin story, because we all have an origin story. And I think a lot of people take it for granted, what their growing up years have meant for them, and whatever their life has brought to them so far. So yeah, I help people then to unlock what those powers are, what their abilities are, and if that's starting a business, if they have a business that they're taking to another level, if that's, some of my clients, even though I might be normally helping them with a business, that I might have to help them with like marriage counseling, basically, or just recently one of my students had some health problems, and she, even with the knowledge that she's had, she just didn't quite know what to do to heal herself and to kind of take some pretty serious things that she had to go to the hospital for. And so by me working with her, just taking her through some very simple steps, her healing has been accelerated. And that's what I mean by a superhero, is that things that I think other people might consider miraculous are more and more becoming sort of kind of normal, maybe not normal, but expected to me. And I really would like to bring that super normal kind of view to more of the world, and help people to recognize that whatever it is, and to even recognize the blessings of our challenges, right? Like, I've been through depressions, and I've been through regrets and resentments. I mean, just a few years ago, I was going through some major stuff, and to just be able to come out of that and be like where I am now, and then to help others wherever they are, if they're just really good and they want to get better, or if they're, kind of stagnant and they want to get moving. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it, is empowering people and helping them move into their just absolute best, most authentic self, and have the tools, guidance, and support to be able to do that and feel good about it as much as through the whole process as they can.
All right, so I have to ask, so what is your superpower and your origin story?
Ooh, well, my origin story. My origin story is
We've got
way
some time
too
here.
long.
It's an hour show.
Way too long for this show. But I thank you for asking me that. I'll summarize it in super short form. Super short form. My origin story is, I grew up feeling very different from other people, but didn't necessarily express it in any kind of rebellious sort of way. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm going to be different, like as a kid. I just sort of was different, and then got into martial arts and Eastern philosophy stuff, and then even like astral projection and all these things before I found the School of Metaphysics at the age of 18, when I was still a senior in high school, and started taking classes at the School of Metaphysics, which is a you guys know what it is, but for your audience, a not-for-profit organization that kind of really set me on my course of learning meditation and focusing and universal laws and all these just powerful tools and amazing experiences and great people as well. And so I was with that organization for 22 years to the day, by the way. Literally left the school on my 22nd anniversary, like was no longer a student at the School of Metaphysics. So that was kind of interesting piece of, lore.
Yeah.
But I had this amazing journey with that organization that taught me so much, and that I got to serve and give through, and just change so many people's lives, and therefore have my life just transformed. And also kind of stayed there a little too long, and that that had its own sort of just kind of kick in the face, and sort of that's kind of led into what I was describing about being in a depression for a couple of years, where things were just very challenging and sort of questioning, like, man, why did I spend so much time doing this? Could I have done this or that? And then, eventually coming around to more and more just a greater and greater sense of gratitude and a sense of appreciation for everything I've learned, everything I've done, and the people I've gotten to serve and create with, and now just so many amazing friends as well. And what that has led to, right? The relativity, the law of relativity, where one thing has led to another, to another, to another. And it's all been this beautiful unfoldment, no matter how challenging or weird at times, and still sometimes get. So that's really kind of led me to this. And then to answer your other question, it's also all that journey brought out my superpower, which really what I've discovered is that I am incredibly good. In fact, I'm better with other people. When I'm trying to create on my own, I'm just okay. But when I'm teaching and serving others, when I'm creating with others, I inspire people. I actually like affect the mind substance of their own mind and help them to believe in themselves and see what's possible and actually awaken what is in them. So I'm kind of like Professor Xavier from the X-Men, or Yoda, or Morpheus, one of these. I'm not Neo so much, I'm not Luke Skywalker so much, or Wolverine. I'm the person who can help you literally transform yourself and awaken whatever is in you. And this even came through in like some intuitive readings I got recently, and it's like, oh wow, this is a nice confirmation that of what I have kind of seen and lived for so much of my life. But yeah, that's my superpower. My superpower is to activate the superpowers in other people and activate people to a point where they really can fulfill what they came here to fulfill and be their absolute best self.
That's an amazing mission you've taken on. I think it's so needed. And I think so many of us don't reach our full potential because we don't find somebody like you to help us. And so that goes untapped. And one of the reasons I wanted to go back to something you said, Damian, you said that you kind of got in a depression for a couple of years, thinking to yourself, man, why did I spend so many extra years in the school when I should have left earlier? And I find that a lot of people, including myself, sometimes I think, oh, I knew, why did I stay in that job or whatever for so long? So is it that we just like routine, that we fear change? Why do we stay in situations that we know we're done with, but we stick around?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question that I think a lot of people wind up asking themselves at one point or another. And I think that there's a few factors we can look at. I mean, I think part of it is habit, and that because habits are a good thing. When you develop a habit, it can be super powerful for you. Like if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, oh my gosh, just won't go way off on that, but incredibly powerful stuff. Because when you apply that over time, you really develop your superpowers have to in some degree be built on a habit. But when we get trapped by habits, that's when we get stuck with them. That's part of it, is we really hurt ourselves because we don't even necessarily know. I mean, I think for me, I'll just use myself as an example. I think even times when I knew, part of me intuitively or could just see what was going on in different stages of my life where I needed to make a change, it was just easier, right? It was easier to keep going in a particular direction. Sometimes there was fear, like fear of what if I do this? What if I do that? Sometimes it was, just not having like the energy to quite make a shift, or someone to help me, give me the proper guidance in a certain directions. And I think that's true for most people, is that those sort of things happen. And then what I really think it comes down to is what you might call shadow work or karma, or whatever term you want to use, that those areas of challenge or darkness or growth that we don't quite understand yet. And so we end up repeating things for a while, and that becomes part of the journey, right? And so I think that's where it's so important for people to I guess you could say forgive themselves and forgive other people, but I do think it's so much more than that. It's like the capacity to be grateful for, the capacity to recognize. I say it's something that a term that I kind of coined is that the universe only brings blessings. And I really do believe that, even when I'm in my own, junk. I really do believe that the universe only brings blessings. And what I mean by that is that everything that happens to us, through us, and because of us is due to like an emanation of our soul, or our evolutionary locus, or whatever you want to call that. And so because it's emanating from that deeper core part of us, or our Atman, or our I am, or whatever you want to call it, that it's part of our journey and growth. And so there's going to be something valuable that we build from that, and that ultimately comes from that, even if in the moment or after it happens, you're like, that really kind of sucked.
Right. Wow. And so, what do you find that there's a common set of the biggest problems with mindset that you deal with your clients? Is there one top one that seems to be repeating, or is there a group of problems that you just see so many people are being, challenged with?
I would say one of the biggest ones is that people, it was very similar to what we were talking about earlier, actually. It's that oftentimes people don't see the options that they have. People don't, okay, so let me see if I can give some examples of this. Here's a simple one, super easy example. I teach a lot of different kinds of people. I coach a lot of different kinds of people, but I do tend to have people who are like coaches and fitness people and Ayurvedic health people, all this kind of stuff. I tend to draw entrepreneurs and coaches and such. And one of my clients, she literally just thought she could only coach people one-on-one. She didn't really realize that she could have like a group coaching program, or that she could, she didn't realize that she had these different options. And as I started like saying, well, you could do it this way, you could do it that way, she started to open her mind up to what was possible. Another person who I've sort of just started mentoring recently, it has money blocks. She has incredible programs she's put together, and like this whole year-long healer's journey kind of program. And she pours herself into it, and she was so undercharging herself. I'm like, girl, you need to be charging like 3 or 4 times what you're charging for what what you're offering. And then just one of my clients is a fitness coach, and she about a year ago, in addition to doing one-on-one sessions with people, she created an online format where she does challenges, and she does various types of putting videos out for people who want a fitness and she experienced something very similar, where she just didn't see that even simple things like how going more on social media to advertise herself, not even paid advertising, just going on and doing videos, how much that would bring more people to her. And as she's gotten more comfortable with that, and not trying to be all polished and prepared, but just jumping on, being real, having fun, that's helped her to fill up her challenges, and then also her DIY program, which is she's really trying to build. So I would say that one of the biggest things is just people not seeing what is possible. And then immediately after that is one's belief that they can do that. So even if they have the idea themselves, or if someone gives them the idea, or they hear about the idea, oftentimes they don't believe they can do it. And so that just comes back around to having a coach or a mentor to say, look, this is totally doable. And I had to make some big shifts. That's part of the reason why I, got a business coach. Now I've got another business coach, and both of my business coaches have provided for me a tremendous, and actually all of the people that they introduced me to, because it's really been this wide spectrum of amazing people I've met in the last 5 years who have really blown open my mind to be like, oh, wow. Oh, this person is doing that, and this person is doing this and making this money and helping these people. And, I'm just like, okay, I've really been undercutting myself so much. And so that's been such a great just boon for me. And then to see other people, I guess that's what I want to help the whole world to do. That's why I want people to unlock their superpowers, is because most people doubt themselves and most people just don't see what's possible. So if I can help them, and I really, there's a lot of other great people doing this as well on whatever level, but to help people to just reach that potential. Oh man, I know that was a long answer.
That's all right. That's all right. So we've got about 30 seconds here before we go into the break. So how can somebody reach you if they're looking for something like what you do?
Yeah, they can they can go to my Facebook, Damian Nordman, my profile, my Instagram avatar, Damian. They can also send a email to info@damiannordman.com. Any of those ways will work.
All right. So we are at the bottom of the hour. So that means we are going to be going into a short break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. This is Spirit's Journey on Truth Frequency Radio. See you on the other side.
You are now tuned into the Truth Frequency.
Your protection from deception. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Radio being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio, among others. We are here today with Damian Norman, who is a mindset coach, author, and mentor of superheroes, as well as an all-around good friend of ours. So welcome back, Damian, for the second half.
Awesome, guys. Thanks. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to start off with something that you mentioned in the first half. You were talking about a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, undercharging for their services. And so in the spiritual circles that we mingle with, we find this a huge problem as well. And I mean, I also is like every time I have to up my prices, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. So what is at the core? Because I know you're deep into metaphysics, which is something we love about you. What is at the root of this issue among so many people in the spiritual realms of not charging enough?
I think that there's a few things going on. I mean, one of them is additionally spiritual people were often beggars, often or monks or nuns or, these ascetics that relinquished everything. And so for thousands of years, that was the case, unless you go way, way back to like ancient Egypt or something where like the royalty might be the spiritual leader or something like that, or Tibet, So I think that there's a lot of that mentality that's there. But, really, I would say that it doesn't just affect people who are doing spiritual work or anything like that. I think that people most people undervalue themselves. And again, it comes back to just societal, cultural beliefs that have gotten passed down, from generation to generation, from person to person. And so unless you were raised in a situation where your parents were wealthy and they understood how that wealth was built, or you saw one of your parents develop this ability and taught you that, most people view wealth from such a, oh my gosh, just from such a very limited standpoint of just trading hours for money. And what I've found, and this is really funny because, for years I was with the School of Metaphysics, and I started to gradually raise my value. And at first, the way I expressed it in a new way was primarily through building a giant school branch. Like the School of Metaphysics would often have these kind of small schools, not too many people would be in them. And I actually built a school of 60 plus students, and we had so much wealth and abundance coming in. And I actually had to change my wealth frequency to be able to attract these wealthier people. And that was tuning in to who I really am. And that's what I found that that's the main thing that people need to do. And that's why I'm on this crusade to raise up this, nation of superheroes, is because, a superhero knows that they're powerful, right? They might have some flaws and some challenges and, what everybody goes through, but, they know they can pick up a car and throw it, right? Or they, of course, I'm, talking about comic book superheroes, but somebody who, knows their worth and knows what they can accomplish or what they can create or how they serve other people and how interacting with others changes those people. Understanding that, well, your wealth goes up, and so your expectation of value goes up, and so then you can accept and receive and just go, okay, wow, yeah, I deserve to have this much money flowing into my life or for this thing, because it's not about trading how many widgets I can make in an hour. It's about how much I'm helping someone or what I'm bringing to a situation or the creativity I bring. And for some people that is, years of practice and what they can manifest through, like, let's say an artistic skill. Like I know one of the guys who created the Nickelodeon cartoon series Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I mean the guy was like honing his craft from the time he was like 4 or 5 years old. He was an artist, right? And so that that built up into this massive value that he now experiences. But we all have value that usually we don't see, that's it's untapped. So that's the simplest answer I can give in the time that we've got.
No, I think you hit the core of that issue, and it goes back to mindset, which is why, anybody who's out there struggling with a business, wanting to be more successful in any way. I mean, Damian's your guy. And so, Damian, what would you say to the listeners is the best way that someone can become wealthier and make more money? Because all of us want that, right?
The best way.
Or best ways.
Yeah, I mean, I assume you're talking like on a deeper level, because I as far as the things that we do are as unique as there are people, because and I think that actually is the answer, which is to find what you love. Find what you love the most, or the thing. Maybe it's not just one thing. Maybe it's several things. It can be multiple areas. I mean, I think we all have a number of things that we love, but there's usually at least one or two core things that bring you joy and that energize you and you can't wait to do. And even if you weren't getting paid, like I really didn't get paid at the School of Metaphysics. So for years, I'm teaching people because I loved it. I wasn't getting paid, but I loved it and I was very good at it. And so if you can find that thing, and you might have to get uncomfortable and say, okay, wow, I've been doing what I don't like or what I hate for 5 or 10 or 20 years. I'm going to have to get uncomfortable and try some things and maybe go back to what brought me joy when I was a kid, what brought me joy when I was a teenager, what brought me joy in my early adult life. Or if you just know what that is, go for it. Find a way to experiment and experience something that you love. And then if that doesn't work, you try it for a few months or a year, or however long. And if that doesn't work, you can always try something else. It's like one of my clients is so interesting. She had been trying for years to kind of make it as a health coach and husband and support, for all their kids and everything. So she didn't necessarily have to be successful immediately. But as she was going forward, she came to find that, at least for now, she started actually working for the same company that her husband works for, in a roofing business, and she got to bring forth all this stuff with sales and teaching people and coaching people in that business. and it was bringing her money and time freedom that she wanted. And so she was like, I just don't have any desire to do this coaching anymore, to try to do it or to build a business. And I'm like, follow your bliss, sister. Go for that. Go whatever's working for you right now. Go for it. And if the time comes when are going to come back around to this other stuff, or maybe on a new level, or maybe a whole new idea of it emerges, it'll present itself. So yeah, I would say following your bliss, following your heart, your joy. And again, that comes back to finding out what your superpowers are and how you can express them. That's really the best way to make money that I found. I know people who make millions of dollars, six-figure incomes, whatever, because they followed that long enough and in the right way. And that really is the key, no matter what other, physical things you're doing.
So you kind of touched on this, but I'm going to ask this just a little different way. I think a lot of people get so caught up in the money. They're focused on the money. I got to get that six-figure income, things like that. And they just put their nose to the grindstone, and the grindstone just grinds that nose right off. So what is your viewpoint of like people building fun into their image of success and wealth?
Yeah, that's essential. I mean, that's really what I was just saying about follow your bliss. Because, and you can say it is fun, and that's definitely a word that I use a lot. I even used to say that when I was at the School of Metaphysics. I basically told my students, here are the rules of the school, and I have one rule as well. You must have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not having fun, that's okay. But I'm always going to bring that in somehow. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've kind of been shifting my brand, if you want to call it, my positioning to this whole idea of you are the superhero, because I freaking love Marvel movies. I love like pretty much any any superhero show that's at all cool. I geek out on. I'm a huge nerd. I totally geek out on all this stuff. I mean, fantasy stuff, but lately it's more been last several years superhero things, and I geek out in a bunch of other ways. I mean, I can go geek out going hiking. I love to hike. So whatever it is, interacting with people, whatever you love to do, and that is fun to you. That is what brings it, because I've tried it. I've seen other people try it. If you're doing something and you're just grating against it, or like you said, Patrick, your nose to the grindstone and it's grinding off, I feel like you're doing it the wrong way. Now, some people thrive. You get like a Gary Vaynerchuk, or one of these people who loves to just like hustle. And they'll even use that word, hustle. I mean, some people love that. Some people are built for that masculine, hyper masculine, go, go, go. And if that's what you love to do and that's your fun, knock yourself out. I'm, somewhere more in the middle. I like to just kick it and just chill sometimes, or go out in nature, or hang out with a friend, or call someone up, or, go take a, do some yoga or whatever. And I also like to just get in and kick some butt and rock things out as well. So you got to and some people are much more feminine, some people really find their flow in just being in the feminine flow and attracting and radiating, and that works for them. So I think, again, just like anything else with fun, you have to answer that question of what fun means to you. And when you find it, really work it, go for it.
And so, Damian, it's kind of a paradox when people get into spiritual study, things get real deep, and we're faced with, this idea that if we don't get it right this lifetime, if we don't fulfill our purpose, we may just have to do it all over again. And so it can get serious. So, and, I found that for myself. It's like, oh man, this is really serious stuff. So how do we go into this spiritual study, or purpose, whatever way you look at it, and get beyond this seriousness of like, oh my gosh, if I blow it, man, I'm going to have to redo this lifetime, or I'm going to incur karma, and so forth.
Yeah, well, I guess just kind of depends on your programming with that, and what you've run into. I know probably most people aren't approaching it from that angle, but I know some of us have been subject to that idea. I guess it really comes down to what are you feeling right now, right? Like what are you feeling? Because what are you experiencing? Is your heart moving? Is your heart opening? Is it expanding? Is your solar plexus open? Are you what are you feeling? That's so important. And just watch what happens, the difference between when you're all serious and scared and worried about, whatever you're worried about, if it's paying a bill next month, or if it's that you're not fulfilling your purpose. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear, I gotta not fulfilling my purpose. Well, 90 plus % of the population is like kind of in the same boat, really probably everyone. I mean, I believe, like, even if you look at like the really honest, famous people, like every now and then I like to listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast, and he talks about how he struggled with depression almost his entire life. I mean, the guy's almost my age. He's probably about 43. And until the last 4 or 5 years, he's just struggled just hardcore with depression. Here's a guy who's written several successful books, created businesses that were successful, sold them, millionaire, all this good stuff. Lived a really enchanted life, and yet he talks about how depression just had him. And so I think that's true. Whether you consider it more genetic, or you consider it more just something that you're working with from whatever level. You got to just kind of watch and see, like, how are things making you feel, and just ask yourself that question: is this what I want, or is there something else that I can experience that's a better state?
Mm-hmm. That's very helpful. Yeah, I think a lot of people could relate to that.
So, speaking of how you're feeling about things, what is your view on the connection between what we're doing in our mindset and our health?
Oh man, that's a question that I could talk about for ever.
You got 11 minutes.
I've healed myself of several things. When I was younger, I was pretty healthy, but every now and then I would either hurt myself or get sick. And sometimes it was pretty minor, like a sprained ankle. Sometimes it was more major. I had spinal meningitis when I was almost 12, went to the hospital, would have died if not for modern medicine catching it and helping me, kind of out of that. And then later I hurt my wrist. I had a tendonitis in my right arm, and I didn't quite know what I was doing at the time, but I ended up using my mindset to heal my arm. It was injured for over a year. And when I started to relax, and it's so interesting, I actually started teaching my friends martial arts. I had about 5 or 6 friends who wanted to learn martial arts, and I'd taken martial arts since I was about 10. And so when I was about 16 or 17, and I'd had this injury for almost a year, I started teaching my friends, and from that, my heart opened, and I gained more purpose for myself at that time over the next few months. And it was almost miraculous how fast, barely being able to like extend my arm from this really painful inflamed tendonitis in the whole forearm area, just healed, like 85-90% healed within just a few months. And then later at the School of Metaphysics, I learned how to heal myself. And I had other problems. I had, epididymitis and swollen prostate came up right around the time I started my metaphysical study, and I had to heal that through changing my thoughts, my beliefs, the way I live my life, being more assertive with myself and going after more of my desires. And I healed myself of chronic headaches, and I do this. And really, so what it comes down to is, yes, and I'm also a big proponent, by the way, of the things that a lot of people would teach, like eating organic, healthy food and restoring our soil. And, I'm a huge proponent of like clean water and clean air and all that stuff. Super important. Wouldn't ever discount that. Also, really glad we have doctors for trauma care and acute problems, because again, I probably would have died if they hadn't been able to identify the meningitis and treat me properly. So I'm a proponent of all these physical things that we've got to do to stay healthy: exercise, moving our body, loving what we're doing as far as our movement. But then it comes down to the mindset, because you've got to have that inner focus and that inner ability to even just sense when things are off emotionally, energetically, in your life, with relationships. Those are great, things red flags, or things that show us that we might start be getting sick, or our body might start to be wearing down. And I really do believe that there is a very clear energetic connection between our thoughts and emotions and how our body responds to that. And you can get into like epigenetics, where people are proving it more from that angle, that certain thoughts and emotions will turn on or off your genetics, for better or worse, depending on if you're at peace with yourself, or if you've got a constant stressor, like a negative emotion like fear or anger or resentment that you're just like repeating over like day after day after day. It's like, and it starts to turn things on in a certain way. But also, I do believe energetically and just spiritually, we're affecting ourselves. And so I do believe that our innate state of being is well-being. And that I found that to be true. Whenever I can relax enough into who I really am, any pain or problem that I have will clear up. And I found that happens for other people as well. And you stay the healthiest when you stay the happiest.
So we're kind of talking about mind over matter, about how the mind and aligning your thoughts and your mindset can heal the body. So while we still have some time, I wanted to just take a little peek down the rabbit hole a little bit, because you are a rare individual who has a lot of experience with metaphysical principles, and not just concepts, but actual practice. So can you share some of your highlights of some of your greatest mystical experiences? Maybe a quick top 3.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Probably one of the most lucid dreams I ever had. And I'll just summarize it in that I believe that I contacted like my primary spirit guide sort of accidentally in this dream, and kind of looked a little bit like me, and turned to him and said, "Hey, you're my spirit guide." And then like totally woke up in the dream state, completely lucid, completely able to like move around and do stuff. And it was just amazing how like free I was. That's one of them. My first intuitive breathing or rebirthing experience, rebirthing the way Leonard Orr would teach, was described by the person attending me as sort of like a Pentecostal revival. because I started to speak in tongues, and I was like doing mudras, and I had like all this energy and light pouring through my body and my third eye and my chakras, and it was amazing. I mean, it was just like, again, very sense of freedom and power and just all this great stuff poured through, laughing and crying, all this stuff. And then a third one, let's see. Maybe I'll just say this as a kind of a general thing. I went through a period of time where I had these spontaneous Kundalini experiences that were just out of this world, state of energy moving through my mind and body, again, like speaking in tongues, moving my body in all these different ways. But what I internally was experiencing was just energy and power and like this kind of like high vibrational God force each time it would happen. And each one brought different insights to me. And I think actually kind of rearranged some things in my DNA maybe, or definitely my energy systems for sure. So all of those, oh my gosh, and several more were just very profound in awakenings and helping me to see myself in a new way, experience myself and other people, and my connection to everybody and really all of creation in a much more real sort of sense.
So all those things definitely make you sound like a genuine superhero with superpowers. So If somebody's wanting, though, to develop their mind, I mean, obviously everybody can't start out with all of those extraordinary experiences, but where would you recommend that people start if they're wanting to just start out taming their mind and really getting a handle on using their mind effectively?
That's a very good question. And, I even ask that question sometimes in my podcast. And the interesting thing is that it is a very individual kind of thing that I see. I mean, I used to would say, oh, well, learn concentration or learn meditation. And some people, that's not what they really need right now. I would really just say, take a moment to take a few deep breaths and ask yourself, what is it that I need? And seek out answers, right? Like, go online, do some searches. And certainly it can help if you can find a mentor or a coach who you feel you really resonate with, because that person, or maybe a school or a system, a program, there's all kinds of ways of going about it. But I found having a good mentor or coach is one of the best ways, because that person, if you trust them and you've kind of done your homework enough to say, well, this person seems like they know what they're talking about. They've got some people who represent them and say, yeah, this person helped me out. Usually they're going to be able to give you some guidance that's customized to what you need. And I think that is the most important thing, because when I was with the School of Metaphysics, it was great, but I do feel like sometimes we were the Walmart of spirituality, as a lot of groups can be, because even though we had tons of amazing stuff we taught that was pretty deep and powerful, we tried to make it be a bit of a one-size-fits-all program at times. Even though we taught individuality, sometimes it would just fall too much into that, well, everybody just needs to do this and this. And what I found is that that's not true. Everybody needs to do what's in your best interest and what your Lord God or your Atman is calling you to do. And when you can tune into that, you're gonna get the teaching and the experiences that you need.
That's so awesome, Damian. And it's really cool when somebody like yourself has had these deep mystical experiences, and to use that to turn around and have that as a foundation for building a business that helps people. So I love that. We're all about this blend of spirituality and business, because we're seeing this trend where more and more spiritual people are building businesses, and it's becoming an awesome combination. I think we need more of it. So thank you so much for sharing all these insights with us. And if you want to share real quick again, how people can find Damian Nordman, the mindset coach.
Yeah, you can go to Damian Nordman look me up on Facebook, or Avatar Damian on Instagram, send me a DM. And you can also send an email to info@damiannordman.com. That's DAMIANNORDMANN.com. And I'd be happy to connect in with people.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Damian. We have really enjoyed this conversation. We enjoy all of you joining us for these conversations as well. So please connect with us on Facebook at Spirits Journey Radio. Please like our page. And also you can study with us or get a reading with us at intuitiveschool.com. This has been Spirits Journey live on Truth Frequency Radio, simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Kathryn. Have a great week, folks. We will catch you next Saturday.
See you on the other side.